ways to communicate safety to your workforce. And with that being said, I'd like to introduce today's guest speaker, who is an internationally recognized motivational safety trainer, Richard Hawk. And I've also included his link below, which is makesafetyfun.com, if you would like to visit that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and give Richard a little bit further introduction and transfer the screen to Richard here. So there you go, Richard. Now, so you all know, Richard has over 40 years of experience in the safety and health field, including 13 years in the nuclear power industry, and recently has spent 2 years demolishing a nuclear power plant in South Jersey. Richard is a popular international speaker and trainer and the world's leading expert on making safety fun. For 3 years in a row, he was a keynote speaker for the largest safety convention in the world, sponsored by the National Safety Council. Getting a little background noise there. If we wouldn't mind, if anybody can hear me, to go ahead and mute your background microphones, that would be appreciated. Thank you very much. Hawk has also been featured as a speaker at NASA. He has written several articles and
Rhett, you just went mute again. There you go. Nope. There you go.
There we go. Okay, so I don't know where I left off, but I got a few tidbits for you as well. As Hawk has also been featured as a speaker at NASA and has written several articles and books on safety. For over 10 years, he has written monthly column for Safety and Health magazine, which I'm sure many of you subscribe to. And that's a publication that helps safety and health professionals stay inspired. I know I've received that for many years as well. Hawk is an accomplished musician as well, an actor, and an avid pool player who lives with and, in fact, per his words, obeys his wife of 45 years, Jackie, in Cumberland County, New Jersey. And today, Hawk is going to share tips and techniques that will help get your employees more involved in your safety program and help them focus better and avoid mistakes that cause accidents. Richard, we're so thankful to have you on board today, and we can't wait to hear what you have for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhett. That was a wonderful introduction. I don't know where you got all those words from, but hey, I wish this wasn't a virtual, because I've been out to Puget Sound and it's so beautiful there. And so thank you for having me. I have some great things to pass on to you. Stuff that I've learned over all these years that has helped me as a safety pro be able to get people to love safety, to get involved, to think it's fun, interesting. I particularly have done lately a lot on how to myself and other employees make them focus better, make them more mindful. But I want to start by telling you that safety, I started in 1981. Since then, as being important, safety has just skyrocketed, especially in our culture and other places in the world too. I've been to several countries, but one thing that hasn't improved as much as it should, I think, too, is that it's not considered to be exciting or fun or interesting. In fact, I'm going to show you a slide in a minute. One time I did on Google Images. All I put in was safety meeting. I didn't put any adjectives or adverbs or describing what kind of safety meeting or a topic, just simply safety meeting. Now, if you go on Google and do images, you'll see a whole bunch of images. Well, the one on the top left is the most popular or most common one, and you'll usually see that one speckled throughout, the images. So this is the image that came up when I put in safety meeting.
Richard, you muted your microphone. Richard.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, there you go.
And you can see the slide.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Well, that's the slide that came up for safety meeting, not for just like boring meeting or just any meeting, but safety meeting. And I've had times when I've been out speaking, one time for the Forest Service. It was a pretty big audience, about 750 people. And I was there speaker the second day for their luncheon. And all it said on the venue was safety talk. It didn't even have my name or the subject. The subject was stress. And I met a woman the night before at the restaurant bar in the hotel. And I was asking her about the session, what she was doing. And they were rolling out a new software program. And I said, well, what are you doing tomorrow? She goes, well, we're doing this thing about rolling out the software. She goes, and I'm going to go to a boring safety meeting. But when she found out I was the speaker who was going to give the boring safety meeting, she was so embarrassed. She was a sweetheart. Her name was Beverly. But anyway, that happens all the time. People think that safety as a subject is boring. They think it's very important in general, especially in the construction industry. And I've done a bunch of work in the construction industry. We think it's very important, of course, but it tends to be considered boring. And so what I've spent my adult life, especially the last 20, 30 years particularly, is trying to help people and show you, and with myself, make it more engaging, make it more fun, make it more interesting. And there's three ways you can do this. There's three areas. One is your formal training and your informal training. And what I mean formal training is like, all right, if you're an operator and you're learning to use a crane and you got to get certification, that's formal training. Or like I'm from the radiation protection industry quite a bit, and also construction and nuclear power industry. And we had a lot of formal training, my word, an incredible amount. And the second is informal training or informal influence. Like your safety meetings, your toolbox meetings, the things that you do, bulletin board stuff, sort of emails. And there you have a lot of leeway. And I'm going to give you some really cool tips on how to make that more engaging for your employees and influence their behavior. And the third one, which can be the most powerful, is you and I as individual safety pros. We can make a huge difference. Oh, so much in making it more engaging. Now, here's why it's not so engaging. And sometimes this is hard to be avoided.
You muted yourself again.
This actually was happening with me as well and was not clicking any mute button, ironically. So, Richard, I have the same issue this morning. Maybe it's a foul up on Teams.
There you go. Yeah, it probably is. So I'm going to try and just use the enter button, and I'll keep looking at my, well, this is it. It's because safety is typically this: warning, do this and don't do that. Or as you see here, very statistical, yellow and red. And this is important. Of course it is, but it's not alluring or enticing or exciting or fun. In any way, and fun. But by the way, what I mean fun, not just playing games. I mean energetic enjoyment, so that you enjoy it. And so this is the reason, one reason, why safety needs to have some extra oomph to it. Because so much of it is, even when you're out doing, I'm doing an inspection on a site, I have to look for things that need to be fixed, that are wrong, that are dangerous or hazardous. That's part of our business. And that's also why we need to have more energy put into making it engaging. Now, I want to show you, for 2 years, and as Rhett brought out, my wife says this is the most manly picture she's ever seen of me, which I've been married almost 46 years. So this is a big compliment. That's, by the way, that's called a Brock. That's the first time I ever worked with that machine. It's unlike a lot of you guys and gals do, you build stuff, put stuff. This tears it down, and it's a beast. And that's a little one. And then you have to wear double hearing protection and a mask because it kicks up so much dust from the concrete. But I got a chance. This is because of COVID, by the way. All I was doing was speaking for years. I mean, I did work in the industry a long time ago. But then COVID came. My speaking business fell apart. And then my wife said to me that I had to get a job, otherwise we're getting divorced, because I was home all the time. So I went back into the nuclear industry, but I didn't go back as a safety manager on purpose, in a way. I wanted to be in the field again and see if all these things that I tell everybody to do and how they can influence groups and make them be more, like a team and enjoy safety. Can I do it? And can I find out? And yes, I did. For almost 2 years. This is Oyster Creek in southern New Jersey. And I was working with a team and we did demolition. We had a most wonderful safety record. And the things that I did, and also my boss, I had a wonderful boss, worked like a charm to make it so that people got engaged with safety. And so I want to pass on some of those things to you. But first, I want to deal with what emotion causes people to most want to get involved. What emotion most causes people to want to get involved with anything? It doesn't just have to be safety. And this is not just like, touchy-feely emotional stuff. This is hard science too. Now let me show you. There's a part of your brain called the posterior superior temporal sulcus, your PSTS. Now I'm simplifying this because it's a whole system thing among your brain, but this is like the charging part that makes you want to be part of something bigger than you, like your tribe or your team or something that is part of a group that is special. Now, the proof of this, and I participate in this too. I know you folks out there in Washington might not like this, but I'm an Eagles fan, have been since I've been a kid. And I have an Eagles jacket and hat, and I love the game that happened this week against Green Bay, and I scream and holler and jump up and down because my PSTS is being stimulated. And it happens everywhere. Now, I am not as extreme as these folks I'm going to show you, but this is just proof of how powerful this emotion is with humans. All right, there's Green Bay. I happened to go there, gave a talk a few times at Green Bay. And they certainly are incredibly dedicated fans. And it's not just men, it's the women too. And it's everywhere. People will wear the craziest stuff. And I mean, when I say everywhere, I mean throughout the world. The Scandinavian countries, India. Oh, I happened to go to India for a bit to do some safety leadership training. They're into their cricket, boy. Woo-hoo. And it's a great sport. I didn't know much about it, but after my stay there, I did. And they're as dedicated and crazy, like we are, with that sport as we are with football. This one is funny. You know how football, quotes, we call it soccer, how crazy people can get with that. And I'm sure you reserved and sophisticated folks out there in the West Coast in Washington, you don't go crazy either, right? About the Seahawks. Of course you do. And that type of emotion, this type of just dedication to something, if you can tap into that in any way when it comes to your safety program, when it comes to people being that liking safety and feeling like they're part of something larger than them. Oh my word, how cool is that? How great is that? I've seen it in person, not just from, things I've read about. I've seen it happen. Is it easy? It depends. Sometimes not at all, because safety is considered so much, well, what am I doing wrong? What should I do different? But no. When I say no, I mean no. You can make it so that people feel like they're special and that they're in a team and that they want to care about safety, not just because they don't get hurt. How many times have we said, I want you to go home the same way you came to work, or if you get hurt, it's going to mess with your whole family, and that stuff is true as could be. I recently seriously injured my scapula, your shoulder blade. For something very simple but stupid, I overreached when I was helping a friend at his house. For 3 months, I couldn't sit for almost any length of time. Really hurt my business. So yes, we want our employees to know about stuff like that. And that won't get them dedicated like you see these Seahawkers here, but it will maybe influence their behavior. So I'm not saying don't ever do that. That's not a good thing to do. But it's not as powerful as a positive emotion that gets people engaged in something. There's no way you can beat when somebody is feeling like this, like these folks are, about whatever it is. So I want to give you some examples. There's two other emotions I want to touch on a little bit. But I want to show you some examples of this actually in play. And the first one, I'm proud to say, was mostly my doing. I was hired to do some consulting for a company in Boyertown, Pennsylvania, Cabot Performance Systems. Now the Japanese took over the company. They call it Cabot Super Metals, which I think is pretty cool. Well, anyway, a fellow Brad, who I'd done some work with him in Occidental Chemical, coaching and counseling with his supervisors, wanted me to come in and help them make their safety training, annual safety review really is training, and then new stuff. 500 people work there, chemical company, to make the training more interesting and engaging. So the first year, because it was very boring, first year I helped all the trainers. It was security and the stuff that had to do with fire protection too, and also this industrial safety. We did some really fun stuff, like the slides. The one slide that was for radiation protection, respiratory protection. I had all kind of movie stars and rock stars. Like I had this Rolling Stones and Mick Jagger was there, and it said, you might not always get what you want, from the song Satisfaction, but you should get a respirator that's cleaned and disinfected, and inspected. So they called me back for the next year. Because Brad called me and said, could you come back and help our trainers the next year? I said, yeah. It's money, right? A gig. Plus, I loved working with these people. This time I said, look, we are going to do something like over the top, but you need to trust me. Didn't it work better last year? And now we're all friends too. So we did this competition called the Safety Olympics. It was the Greek Olympics. The regular Olympics were coming up soon. The ones, the worldwide ones that we have, but I had it as a theme of the Greek Olympics. And what happened is we broke everybody up into teams, and that's the really feature of this. There's teams. So these teams would compete at the training, which is half-day training, and the sections, and the team that won that day got a gold medal, got a little prize, but there was the whole plant was competing against each other in a lighthearted way. And one of the things that we did was just to show you how far out we went, we did a skit. We did all different skits and competitions. And one was called The Tale of Ergonopolis. And now I'm going to send this to you, by the way. I'll send you a script to it, and I'll send you how to do this. It's very easy to do. You don't need to do a lot of rehearsing or anything. And it was about ergonomics. This was one of the topics. And in it, we had Helen of Trauma. There's Daria Devious. She's what a sweetheart. She was an industrial hygienist. And she would come out you see what she has on her head, and she would read from this scroll so she didn't have to memorize anything. And then we had behind her were two artisans. There was Accidentius, Tim Hornick, Safety and Health magazine. Actually, it was Hurt Your Knees. He played that part as Hurt Your Knees. And then there was Bacpanius, Hurt Your Knees, and there was Stan Straticus. So we had these characters. Like Stan Straticus did everything right. Hurt Your Knees did everything wrong. It had to do with ergonomics. And she read it. Then the teams would have to do this test. And so they had to pay attention to the skit. Well, this became such a big thing in the plant. They had stuff on the bulletin boards, and everybody was looking at it because whoever was the highest scoring team at the end of the whole thing, which was like 3 or 4 weeks, got a really good prizes. And the manager, the plant manager, told me, and so did the safety manager, that this actually got our group, our whole plant, to kind of learn and work together. And like this was something that pulled us together. Now, this was an exception. This doesn't happen all the time. I'm very proud of this. But still, it shows the power of doing stuff. So do stuff with your group, with your folks, that makes them feel special about their safety performance. Not just that they want you to go home the same way you came to work. No. Make it feel like you are doing something that others can't do. You are the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl type thing. In a reasonable way. You don't get ridiculous, but you still want to do it. Now, the second emotion, which is easier to do, and all of us, and you can see this now on TikTok and social media like crazy, we all desire to be paid attention to and to seem like we matter, to get a little bit of fame. Some people are more introverted, maybe not as much as those who are extroverted, like me, though I don't crave this as much as I used to. But any type of way that you can bring out an employee's behavior and award them, reward them, pat them on the back, if you do it innovatively especially, will work. I've never seen it not work. And this is one of my favorites. I used to do an e-zine called Safety Stuff. I had several thousand subscribers, and now I'm doing a podcast, which I presume will end up having the same, thousands of subscribers, where I pass on ideas that I get from people all around the world, safety pros, and from my own head. Well, this one was from one of my subscribers. They did a ergonomics, what it had to do with office workers. This company was mostly for the office workers, about ergonomics, and they did something. A theme, a promotional thing about Back to the Future. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I do, I'm going to send you this. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I'm going to send you this book, 250 Super Bright Safety Meeting and Promotion Ideas, like the ones I'm just talking about now. I'm going to send you these fly slides, which are just as funny as could be. I'll show you them in a minute, parts of them. So I'm going to show you that Super Bright, and this kind of idea that I'm going to show you now about what they did with back safety will be in the stuff I send you. Well, I'll send it to Brian, and then he'll pass it on to you. So here you go. Here's what the company did. They had to do Back to the Future. Well, they did this. There was a plant manager and the safety manager went around randomly and picked out somebody who was doing what they should be doing ergonomically, sitting right at their desk and, whatever with their keyboard, etc. And then they would post them on bulletin board. You see that woman there, whomever she is, Danielle. All right, so it says Danielle's good posture got her a seat in the DeLorean for a ride into the future, with less probability of back pain or issues acquired from her desk job. Where we're going, we don't need heating pads. That's a line from the Back to the Future. Well, it got so popular, and Cody told me that. People that truly improved their posture and how they worked at their desk and did all the different things we were recommending, that when we would go around, we would find like so many people doing what they're supposed to, that we had to change the DeLorean to this. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, it's just so cool that people get pumped up about this topic in particular. Now, when you do something like this, you can only do it for so long, though. Right? I mean, if they did this after a while, this gets old. So you move on to something else. You do something different. And that's the third thing. You want to do stuff that's different. Change up. I've been, with the National Safety Council forever, 30 years. I've been their keynote speaker 3 times. I was a keynote speaker, and I've done so many professional development sessions, all that kind of stuff. And I still walk around and I'll see some people in the classrooms doing a great job. Lights are on, they're engaging, but so much, it's still the same thing. PowerPoint after PowerPoint, bullet points after bullet points, room is dark, and it's just boring. It's just not good. But we do it because that's what we've always done. And so the third emotion, the first one is PTSD. You want to make sure that you're making people feel like they're part of something really good, big, a team, the tribe, whatever. Second one is that you want to have people get a pat on the back, get them some positive publicity. Say, wow, you did a great job here doing this and that. In innovative ways if you can. And the third one is just start doing something different. I go to many different companies, and so many times, well, sometimes it's great, right? I went to Firmenich out in California, and they had an awesome safety program and fun, and people got involved like crazy. And I've been to others. It's one coal-fired plant when I went to help with their culture. Same thing over and over again. Just boring as hell. So do stuff that's different. Now, I'm going to send you these slides. This is by the favorite thing that was sent to me and I've gotten hundreds of ideas about to make something with safety more fun and interesting. This guy, Mark, took flies. I mean, real, organic living flies, and killed them, and then made slides out of the flies, safety slides. In fact, I'm going to send them to you. When I send it to Brian, I'll include these slides. You can do whatever you want with them, and people have done great stuff with them, and I'll tell you about that. And then he put the flies in different safety situations. So there's like 40 of them, I think. I'm gonna just show you a few of them. So here you go. It's called Safety on the Fly. Look at the bottom. No flies were harmed in the making of this presentation. Oh, sure, they were killed, but that was prior to the making of the presentation. Now, how he came up with this idea, I asked him. He says, I don't know. He said, oh, no, I don't know. I saw flies one day and I thought maybe I'll make slides out of flies. So here you go. Here's a few of his slides. Lift with your legs. That couldn't be too fun. The Umpty Squad. Forget lockout, tagout, and you might get squished. A good chair is important. Now, there's only one that's not safety related, and I think it's my favorite because it's so funny. Last night at the landfill. What's a nice girl like you doing in a dump like this? Now, isn't that, I mean, just for the change of something. And that's part of what you want your employees to be engaged means they're paying attention to this thing called safety. It doesn't always have to be funny. It doesn't always have to be, unusual. It doesn't always. There's all different things you can do. I mean, I worked as a safety manager and as a safety supervisor in a very serious business, and recently just did. And so, no, you can't go around being a clown all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying stuff like this helps people want to get involved. And finally, Mark Rosenleaf kills flies and does goofy things with us. Read and heed workplace signs. So there you go. There's some tips about what you can do when it comes to your formal and informal training. I used to teach systems training for nuclear power plants to operators, to new operators. And it was still, I added stuff like this as much as I could, as much engagement. And then your informal, your pre-job briefings. I always did cool stuff with the pre-job briefings. We had to do so many of them too. And your toolbox meetings, your safety meetings, you don't have to make them be a constant circus. You can't. You don't have enough time to do that. But you can put stuff in regularly. I know I did, and I still do. I mean, if tomorrow I went back to a plant, did an outage somewhere, I would do the same thing I did when I was at Oyster Creek. Now, here are 3 things you can do. Remember, there's your formal stuff like your procedures and your policies and your real formal training that you can do stuff to make it more engaging. That's harder. Then there's your informal training and your formal training, but it depends on how stiff it is. And then there's you. And you as a safety professional, as a person, can be so influential. Look what some people have done in the world. Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or some people have changed so much for the good and bad, right? Look what even just Hitler has done. I mean, so people can do, one person, of course you have other people working with you, but one person can make such a huge difference in safety in a positive way at a work site. And here's the 3 ways you do that. Become a brilliant listener. I've read so much on this subject and I work so hard at it. I mean, like right now I'm talking, it's just me talking because I'm getting paid to talk to you. But if we were together, I would find everything I can out about you. And I have worked hard to be a brilliant listener when I'm in the field. I come upon a work crew. I don't talk that much at first, except for I tell jokes or clown around maybe. But I want to find out everything about them and about what they're doing, about why they scaffolds like this. Not just because I want to find fault, because I love listening and I want to know. And because of that, you'll be amazed how much people will open up to you. Now, I don't have the time today. I mean, I've given half-day sessions just on listening to go through all the different things you need to do to be a brilliant listener. But I will tell you the main one, the one that is the best, and that's to ask further questions. If we met, say at a restaurant, bar, a party, whatever, and you told me you had gone fishing, typically people will say back to that person, oh yeah, I like to fish too. Or if you say I caught a bass when I went fishing last week, typically a person will say, oh yeah, I've caught bass before, or I like to go trout fishing or perch or whatever. That's what people typically do. In fact, one time I went, it was a safety seminar session, convention, and my wife went, and I was doing a thing on listening, and I told her about that. And she said, "Do I do that, honey?" Well, I've learned, I've been married for many years, not to, I said, well, how about tonight when we go to it was like a thing, we're going on a boat, Fisheroo thing. I said, just check out, look around, see what people do. When I got back to the hotel with her, and I said, well, honey, what do you think about people doing what I said, that when you talk to them or when they talk, you say back something about yourself? She goes, oh, my word, honey, everybody did it. She goes, I did it too. And then she looked at me in a way that wasn't pleasant. And she said, you give seminars on this. Why didn't you tell me I did that? So we do it all the time. Check yourself. All right. From now on, just check yourself when people talk to you. See how often when somebody tells you about something about themselves that you don't tell them something about yourself. Now, when you're in the field, in a safety situation, if I come upon someone doing something, whatever that is, positive or negative or whatever, I don't just give them answers. I ask them questions. And then when they tell me something, I ask them more questions. Of course, you can get ridiculous, but that's a habit too, by the way. And so that's the first thing I found. The best safety professionals, and I've met hundreds throughout my life, are good listeners. The worst are loud, often talkers. Second one, start practicing mindfulness. I don't near have enough time. I've done 2-day sessions just on this, but purposely practicing paying attention for stress reasons and teaching your employees how to do this. When I was just at the place I was at, Oyster Creek, we had session. I helped the employees be mindful. There's so many books out here on the subject. And it's not religious. It can be, but it's not. I like the very secular, just practicing paying attention. Just like I practice the guitar. I'm a guitarist. I used to teach guitar for years. I practice paying attention so I pay attention better. And I'm going to just show you something. This book, I've got the most positive responses from my seminars and talks when I do my Mindfully Safe talk about this book, about helping your children be more mindful. Because I have 3 grandchildren now, and my one grandson is going to be 2 this year, and I'm giving my daughter this book. It's actually for parents, but it's to help children be able to pay attention better. If there's anything that's causing problems in the world, look at we had that report earlier about the overdose, right? That's happening more and more, especially in the construction field, which is surprising in a way. Mind problems, nothing to be ashamed of, but something to be concerned about, is a huge, huge safety issue. And it's something that we should start doing more of. I mean, if you even had a safety meeting about this, about helping your children better handle the emotions when they're out of control, you don't think people want to know that? Even though I know a lot about this, I would love to go to a safety meeting about that. Why not? You don't have to, invade people's personal space, not in any way. But you certainly should include this subject. And that's another thing. The same stuff. Do we really need, if our employees are always wearing their hard hats, do we really need to, pester them about it anymore? Mention it on occasion. But I've been saying to me, they're talking about PPE, and I look around, everybody in there knows everything they need to know about PPE. And we continue to pound on it. I'm not saying we shouldn't include it, keep it in mind. But part of the reason why is because in subjects like this, mindfulness exercises for kids seems out of the realm of making a difference in the safety world, which is totally absurd because it's the opposite. This is not just children, but with adults. This is I think, and I've have quite a bit of experience in this field, the leading safety issue. Because when a person's upset or mad or angry, frustrated, the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute did an amazing study, which I bring out in my mindfulness talk. It causes accidents, period. Incidents, if you prefer. So that's another thing. Get out there and pay attention on purpose so you can better pay attention, so you can better notice what's going on. Also, so you'll chill more. And when I go out and do inspection, even when I see something nasty, even when I have to like get people in trouble, which I hate doing, but you have to do it sometimes. Uh, I still am chilled about it. And I can tell you truthfully, I wouldn't have been years ago. It's because of this mindfulness that helps you pay attention better, be safer, and helping your employees do that too is vital to improving your safety program. And finally, you have fun. When I first went to I did 2 outages, and then I didn't have as much influence. But then when I was here at this place in Oyster Creek, I was with a team about 20 to 30. At first, I didn't have much influence because you can't. You got to get to know everybody. After a while, oh my word, my boss Lynn, who's so good, and me, we made our team incredibly special. We did all kinds of things, crazy stuff I did, which some of the real serious guys, like the one guy who was the RPM, the radiation protection manager, uh, he let me do whatever I wanted, but he would shake his head. But the employees loved it. We felt like we were a special, fun team. Like one thing we did was this. I introduced stretching, but it wasn't just stretching just to stretch. It was stretch to have fun. And it's good for you too, right? I loved our morning meetings. 6 o'clock they started. I always got there like 5:40. Put funny stuff on the board, sayings that were inspirational but funny, like always give 100% unless you're giving blood, right? And I would play music. Now you see that guy pointing at me? That was Bob. He hated this at first, and then after a while, we became friends. I worked with him all the time. He he would point to me every time I do this, and he said, "This is your fault. This is your fault that we have to do this." But it was great. It was one of those things where we felt special. And I'll tell you what, we had a the whole time I was there, we had no recordables, 2 first aids, and minor first aids too. And we would get in the company newspaper. I did everything I could to make us feel like we were a special team out in the field. And this was tough work too. This was, hazardous work, demolition at a nuclear power plant. Consider it. I learned a lot too, I learned some about radioactivity more, but about, you have some serious hazards. You got to get together. Your pre-job briefing's got to be fun. When I say fun, I mean energetic, enjoyable. Talk about it. What's going on? I would get other people to do it instead of me. We would start from the bottom to the top. I would pose unusual questions. My personal energy, being enthusiastic and exciting about this work I was doing had an incredibly strong influence. You can do the same, and maybe you already do. And if you do, hallelujah, wonderful. I like to remind myself how important that is. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a sales pitch before I say goodbye. Normally, I like to do a song at the end of my talks if I'm up on stage or do some kind of like dramatic story, but it doesn't seem to work virtually. So I'll just do a little bit of a sales pitch, but it's benefiting you. Remember, I'm going to send you some really cool stuff, right? Check out this. This is I'm very proud of this because I've lasted so long. It's a column every month. It's to inspire folks like you and me who are safety and health professionals. It's called All About You. I don't talk about hard hats and safety glasses. I talk about ways that you can be better at your job and enjoy it more. My article this month is about coaching and counseling and discipline. And I'm doing one about how to enjoy your moments of your life. Even as a safety professional, we mostly get attention when things go wrong. So how to keep yourself inspired. So that's what that's about. Check it out. They got electronic. I also do a podcast of it every month. And that's me. Call me up if you want. I don't care. You got questions or you want, if you want me to come work with you and consult or give talks, wonderful. But even if it's just to get some ideas, questions about stuff, I'm there for you. I love this topic. It's not boring, although I think it's funny when people tell me that they're going to have to sit through tomorrow a boring safety talk, and I'm the speaker. Well, thank you, Brian and Rhett, for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, thank you very much. That is absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm going to pull up here. Does anyone have questions for Richard on his presentation? Hopefully, you got jotted down his contact information if you so choose to reach out. Questions for Richard? You can go ahead and unmute your microphones and feel free to interject if you wish. Or you can reach out directly to Richard. He says he likes late night texts.
Yes, that's great. I only get up early when I have to do stuff like this.
Any questions here for Richard? Let's see. I'm just pulling it up here. I don't see any popping up in the chat room. Well, here we see a hand up. Samir, please unmute your mic and let us have it.
Yes. In the beginning, I show the people sleeping at the end. That gave me flashback because that happens to me very frequently on my classes, even though that I try to teach kind of in a cartoonish way to make old timers and new age people engaging with a training. But instead, seeing people sleeping or not putting attention, that's what I perceive out of that is a form of resistance. When managers are not even want to attend the classes and things like that, how you overcome a situation like that?
All right. Well, first off, and what is your name?
My name is Samir. Everybody call me Sam.
All right, Sam. First off, I couldn't agree with you more about the managers. I've seen this so much, and I've also seen where managers have though, but where the managers or the VP or whatever it is doesn't attend or isn't part of it. I have seen that too much throughout my career. Now, if somebody is like sleeping or not engaged with what you're doing, first thing I always do is I don't presume it's because they don't care about what's going on. I say, well, what if, they were up all night last night with their child? What if they're having some other problem medically? I put that in my mind. Now, that might not be true, of course. It might be like you said, Sam, they're just not engaged. Then I ask myself, am I doing something that could cause it to be like, am I droning? Am I not engaging anybody? Is this subject not relevant? And if I can dismiss all of that, then it may be that person is the type of person who it's almost impossible to engage because they're not caring about what's going on. That helps me. Now, how to get them to be engaged? Well, I'll just sometimes ask them a question. Just get them out of their zombiness and ask them a specific question. Sometimes I had a fellow who was on his phone quite a bit when I was giving a session in Arkansas, and I started using his name when I was talking about. I think I was talking about confined space. So let's say his name was Robert. I started using Robert's name. I said, well, let's say Robert has to go into a confined space. And the next time Robert goes over to and he almost snapped his neck up and started, looking at me and what I was doing. So there's different tactics you can do, but you got to do those first things and realize that maybe they're not engaging for other reasons than they don't care.
Thank you.
Other questions? That was a great question. Thank you, Sam.